Welcome. I'm very excited to get into it nonetheless, so thank you for being here. Welcome to Traitorous Season 2, Episode 7, Reparations. We are in the home stretch, you guys. This is our second to last episode for Season 2. So I'm very excited. We have a lot of things to get into. It should be a pretty fun episode, and it will lead into our finale for the season, which is going to be jam-packed with a lot of really fun things. So I'm very excited to get into it. I have most of it ready here. I'm just going to finish getting a couple things ready in the background. I mainly just need to set up the first scene here, so I'm going to be doing that while I talk if you see me looking around and touching my monitor to fix the UI and such. But I hope you guys are having a good night. Thank you for joining me. It has been a little bit since we have gotten into Traitorous. It has not only been a week like usual, it has been 2 weeks because, of course, I was on vacation last Friday. I was in Denver, so I could not actually put on episode 7 of Traitorous. So we took a little bit of a week break, but that's not too much time lost, thankfully, and we are back 2 weeks later now, and going to be getting right into it with episode 7 and then episode 8 next week to round off the season before we head into something brand new and special that I'm very excited to show you guys as well. There will be a there will be a trailer on the finale of Traitorous for our next Friday series, which I'm working on right now. It's going to be a pretty lit trailer, and it's going to be a pretty fun show, and I'm really excited to tell you guys about it. So make sure you're at the Traitorous finale next week to see the trailer for our next Friday series at the end of it as well, because we're jumping into lots of fun stuff in August. I know, I can't believe it's like the finale as well, Jen. It feels like the season went by really quickly, but it's been lots of fun. There's a lot of fun stuff to still get into and reveal for this season before we do conclude it, of course, and we have all of it up on YouTube for you guys to go ahead and stay caught up on. I've been doing a good job of keeping up to date on that, and once I'm done with Traitorous Season 2, I'm going to hopefully continue to get the backlog of all my other Friday series is up. Everything that came after Traitorous Season 1, that should get up on YouTube as soon as possible as well. I have something in my eye. I mean, it's almost the finale, Jenna. I guess it's kind of the semifinals. I don't know if you would call a scripted series second to last episode a semifinals or not, but we're one episode away at least, so we can end off nice and neat at the end of July there. I've been trying to end my series at the end of months. It's been going well so far, so that way I don't have to spoil you guys for what's coming next with the next month's schedule before I can show you a trailer for stuff. But yes, let's not rush that, girl. I have so much work to do on the next show's trailer so far. It is not ready yet, but it will be ready by next Friday. I think that is about all the rambling I have to do. Welcome back. I hope you're excited to get back into Traitorous after a week off. And I think without further ado, let's get a drink so my throat doesn't die in the first scene here. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Traitorous Season 2, Episode 7, Reparations. We are starting our 7th episode here with a little flashback. If you did not remember what happened on the last episode, there is a recap in the Discord, of course, as well as it was running during the pre-stream. But we ended last episode with Samantha drunkenly driving over to Lorena and Cassandra's house, where her boyfriend Maxwell is staying for the summer, of course, at his home. and after finding a bra in his car and a few other clues that have been making her anxious, under the impression that he might be cheating on her, drunkenly stormed over to his home to confront him, only to find Maxwell there in a dress and makeup himself. So our flashback tonight is actually going to be going back to another point in this season, actually. We're going to be going back just a couple of weeks in our timeline here to right after the dinner party that we had, I believe in episode 2, where Cassandra and Lorena invited over most of the family to host a little dinner party. So we're going back to right at the end of that. It is nighttime. Sun's going to start coming up in game because it's not night in game, but we're going to pretend it's real late at night in our canon here as everyone is leaving, and Maxwell has sort of run out after saying goodbye to Samantha to catch Mohini before she leaves with her partners, of course, kind of the last ones to leave the dinner. Maxwell started jogging out and calling for her to stop briefly before she does leave for the night, saying, hey, can I talk to you really quick? Mohini, sort of surprised, but waving off to Charlie and Jaocb to, go get in the car and she'll be there in a minute. But let me just get them into a conversation here. Maxwell sort of wringing his hands, making sure that everyone else has sort of already left and isn't really listening to their conversation, keeping his voice kind of low, as Mohini says, what's up, kid? As Maxwell awkwardly starts, I'm sorry about earlier. I didn't mean to offend you, as Mohini just says, what do you mean? As Max says, earlier, I was surprised to hear you're trans, as Mohini just kind of brushes it off, already sort of forgetting the moment that was brought up, being like, oh, you're fine, hon. As Maxwell sort of rambles and continues, it's just, my mom's right. She raised us to be super accepting and educated, her being by herself and all, but I still have never really been around many transgender people, at least that I knew. As Mohini does start to bristle a little bit more the direction this seems to be going, saying, well, I'm just like any other awesome woman in your family. You don't have to treat me any different. Maxwell's eyes going really wide at that as he says, oh God, no, I wouldn't. That's not, sorry. No, I have a friend at school that, I guess has been questioning their gender, but I know hasn't really had a lot of people to talk to who have it figured out, and how did you know you were trans? As Mohini kind of raises her eyebrow at that, saying, oh, well, that's a bit of a loaded question. Growing up in a super conservative family didn't really make that an easy answer to come to, or one that I can probably properly answer right now on your doorstep. As Max kind of looks down going, oh, right, yeah, of course. As Mohini goes, tell you what, let me see your phone. As he seems sort of confused but hands it over unquestioningly. As Mohini starts to type on it, saying, I'm putting my number in here and you can tell your friend that they can reach out to me to have a longer conversation, or if they have any other questions. As Maxwell sort of lets out a breath he didn't really realize he was holding, going, oh, okay, yeah, thanks. I'm sure they'll appreciate that. As Mohini gives a little bit of a knowing look to Maxwell, nodding along with, I'm here if they need anything, and I'm proud of them for exploring their identity. As Maxwell just sort of chuckles and says, thanks, I'll tell them thanks. As Mohini steps over to wrap Maxwell here into a hug. They don't know each other super well yet, but giving a nice tight hug to Maxwell, as Maxwell doesn't really meet her eyes as she sort of smiles at him and waves to leave, jogging over to Charlie's car over there. But, I meant for only Maxwell's headed to school in game. But that's all good. We're ending our scene there anyways. As Mohini leaves and Maxwell just sort of stares after her and before looking down at his phone and staring at the number that has just been placed in there for a long moment before heading inside himself. But we will leave just a bit in the past there for now. I headed back to right exactly where we left off in episode 6, right after Sam walked in on Max, or I suppose a few minutes after, as they've been talking, and Max has kind of been explaining the situation that we just witnessed here, finishing off with... Oh, that object in the background's glitched. Apologies. As Max is saying, since that dinner, she's been helping me figure things out. He's been a huge help, actually. As Samantha seems a bit confused and also just really out of it, since she is still fairly drunk, although having sobered up a little bit in the situation here, just having taken her by surprise. Give me just a second. Can I just destroy that? There we go. No more clock. You're glitched, clock. And there's a cat wrestling with something. I apologize if that's super loud in the background. But let's continue here. As Sam, having sobered up a little bit, just with being startled with the situation here, but still decently tipsy and trying to wrap her drunken brain around everything, saying, I don't understand. Why are you doing this just now? Next, sort of taking a deep breath and saying, I guess it's the first time I've felt like I can. I mean, my mom did her best to teach my brother and I about different walks of life, but I mean, as a struggling single mom trying to keep a roof over our heads and having to deal with Dylan getting in trouble every other week, we only really knew the people we went to school with, and I mean, you know, the kind of schools we went to aren't exactly known for diversity. As Sam continues, no, right, but you were the star of the football team and the heartthrob of the school. Isn't this like something people know their whole lives? As Maxwell sort of awkwardly says, not necessarily, Sam, and yeah, exactly. I was star quarterback and heartthrob Max. Everyone, including you, had this adoration for that image of me. I wasn't gonna break that. I never even thought about wanting something different, and that's just how things were, so I always rolled with it. As Samantha somewhat indignantly says, so why are you changing that? As Maxwell, a bit more frustrated now, just sighs, saying, because I went to college and started meeting lots of different people unlike anyone I had met before, people who are such an interesting and unique mix of different groups and personalities and identities, but just unapologetically themselves, and I was jealous because my friends, the ones you met at the party, they're just who they want to be, and they're still people that accept and love them, and getting closer to them through the year, I realized that this is a new school and new people, and I don't have to be star quarterback Max here. It's a clean slate to figure out who I want to be, not what everyone expects of me. As Samantha's just sort of picking at her nails, fidgeting, still having a bit of a hard time figuring things out in her own head, saying, and that's what, being a girl? As Maxwell just says, I don't know, Sam. Maybe not. Maybe something in between. I don't know who I am yet, but at least giving myself the opportunity to explore who that might be without any limits, it's made me feel more at peace with myself. As Sam, just continuing to sort of be a little bit stuck in her own head, continues, I'm not a lesbian, as Maxwell says, yeah, and you're also not sober, so I don't even know why I'm trying to have this conversation with you right now. As Sam says, don't turn this around on me after you've been lying to me for months. Maxwell getting more angry themselves now, saying, lying to Sam, how the hell was I supposed to tell you this when you barely even knew what being transgender was until that dinner a few weeks ago? Samantha just replying, your my boyfriend or whatever. You're supposed to be honest with me, especially if you want to be a girl or whatever. That affects me too. As Maxwell just looks away from her, whispering under their breath, like, this isn't about you. Samantha just saying, what? As Max continues, Sam, you're looking for answers I don't have for you yet, which is why I was waiting to talk to you about it. As Samantha replies, I thought hiding... Oh, they're trying to go to school. Hold on. Yes, skip school. I know all of the Sims in the save file are failing. It's fine. Come back, please. If they don't sit on the same sides of the bed, I'm not fixing it. Oh, there we go. Good actors. You know what, we'll get into an argument this time. Argue about relationship, sure. That's fitting enough. As Samantha continues, I thought hiding who you want to be is the cause of all this, and God forbid I'm the reason that you're keeping everything bottled inside. As Maxwell says, I'm not. Cassie and the others have been a great help as well, just listening to me and supporting me as I figure things out. As Samantha seems a bit taken aback by that, saying, you told your friends that you've known less than a year before you've told me? Maxwell saying, yeah, all this is just proving that I was correct to not tell you, and this sure as hell was not the way I wanted you to find out. And Sam just says, yep, it's fine. It's fine, you've moved on to better people than me, and I'm just too stupid to have gotten the memo, despite everyone trying to tell me. As Maxwell seems a little confused at that one, replying, what does that mean? As she just says, nothing, Max. As Maxwell seems to just look a little bit more downtrodden and upset again, and less angry, saying, I'm still me, I'm just learning how to be more myself than I ever have been around you. As Samantha just sort of stares at the floor for a minute before replying, you're right, I'm not sober enough for this. I have been figuring things out, I guess, as Samantha stumbles off of the bed and starts to storm upstairs. Maxwell kind of calling after her, saying, Maxwell calling after her, saying, Sam, wait, Samantha, as Sam is just not listening, though, and storming up the stairs and away. Maxwell sort of chasing after her, knowing that the conversation is a bit for nothing at this point, but not really wanting to leave things on that note, as Samantha just continues to brush Maxwell off, running outside to go get back and call another Uber and head on out. But Maxwell trying to yell for her one more time out the door before dropping it and turning around to see that both Cassandra and Lorena are up now and on the couch. I mean, Lorena having opened the door to Samantha and waking Cassandra up at that anyways, both of them just kind of waiting to make sure that all the kids were okay, but now both sort of staring a bit surprised at Maxwell as Cassandra tries to start saying, sweetie? As Maxwell, with tears in their eyes, just says, please don't, not right now, okay? Storming back down the stairs as well, as Cassandra and Lorena just give each other a bit of a surprised look. Cassandra looking back down the stairs a bit forlornly, though, with a bit of longing, wanting to go help her child, but knowing, yeah, it's probably best not to at the moment. But we will go ahead and leave them there for now. We will end that night in canon. We are headed into the next morning. In our canon here, we are over at Jaocb Henderson's apartment yet again, bright and early in the morning, as Brent is yet again making pancakes, which we've seen before, but This time, Jaocb is entering the living room from the bedroom, not through the front door, as Brent kind of calls over his shoulder, saying, I may be a less good lay than your last online hookup, but hey, at least I'm making you breakfast. As Jaocb just says, that's fine, we'll get you up to par in no time. Brent kind of laughing and turning around to look at Jaocb as he rolls his eyes, saying, really, the pride shirt? Jaocb just saying, it felt appropriate this morning. I mean, I can let you borrow it if you want. Brent just chuckling again, saying, that might be a little bit fast. I literally just admitted to myself last night that I might be into men. Let's wait at least a week before busting out the rainbows. As Jaocb just kind of laughs at Brent this time, saying, oh, might be into men. As Brent replies, fine, am into men. See, I'm even still just bad at saying it. Let me get them actually eating here now that we're done with the pancakes. Yeah, sure, Sims. Jaocb, turning to a bit more of a serious tone as they both sit down with their breakfast, going, I guess that does bring us to an important question. What is happening here? Brent saying, what do you mean? As Jaocb continues, I mean, you've been staying at my place for months now as a friend, despite the insane sexual tension that's been lingering between us, that I have simply left there per your request. Brent raising an eyebrow at that, going, what? As Jaocb just laughs, saying, did you really not notice? Brent kind of staring down at his food as he eats for a minute, well, deep in thought, going, oh god, yeah, looking back, I guess you're right. As Jaocb laughs, saying, yeah, I'm sure you'll find a lot of your memories are a lot more gay now that you've unlocked that puzzle piece. Brent, kind of seeming lost in thought, perhaps rifling through a few of his other past moments of his life, just kind of saying, huh. As Jaocb gets them back on track, though, going, that still leaves the question of what are we then? And do I need to cancel that mattress delivery? Brent, sort of chuckling again, going, you can probably cancel the mattress delivery, and I don't know. Jaocb saying that's a good start, I guess. As Brent replies, I mean, what do you want us to be? Jaocb just sort of laying it out on the table, going, well, I have been interested in you for a while. Might I remind you this friendship started with me asking you on a date in the first place? Not that I've been waiting around for you or anything, but I mean, I enjoy your company, and I have continued to do so as we've gotten to know each other, and I am more than happy to take this in a less than friendly direction, as it appears to be going. As Brent just says, they're very formal. Jaocb shrugging, going, I mean, I'd like to be direct. Brent saying, yeah, I think that's what I want to. I do like you, even if it took me a while to admit it to myself. I don't know if I'm really ready to put a label on things yet or announce it to the world, though. Jaocb just calmly nodding along in total understanding, having remembered when he was in a similar situation, although much younger than Brent, saying, yeah, I understand coming out in this community can be a bitch, but I want you to know that I'm not going to go back into the closet just to wait for you. If you want to do this, we need to do this. I'm too old to be hiding my gay lover like I did when I was 20. As Brent says, yes, of course, I wouldn't expect you to. We can just keep things casual until I know how I want to go about things, but, I mean, if some tall, dark, handsome hunk sweeps you off your feet, you don't need to wait around for me to be ready. As Jaocb just sort of laughs along, going, yeah, alright, Brent, just keep me updated on where you're at, and know that for now, there's no other hunk, and I'm happy to walk out that door hand in hand if that's what you want. Brent smiling and saying, and I truly do want to be ready to do that, and I promise I will tell you as soon as I am. both of them smiling and happy to have come to an understanding as they continue eating their breakfast and just enjoying the morning together here now that they can be even more open and honest with each other than maybe they have been the whole time Brent has been living there. But we will just leave them there to their morning as we're jumping around between a couple of days today in this episode. We're not staying in one or two. We're going to put that day to rest in our canon for now. It is the next morning in our canon universe here, and we are at the Winston Manor. Let me not mix up the Clark and Winston house names. We are at the Winston Manor here, and it is the morning that Aimi and Robert are getting back from their trip. It was just a couple-day weekend vacation, of course, and they are feeling better than ever, of course, on their way back. Headed into the house, and we're going to pretend they have a lot of luggage with them. Samantha having just picked them up from the airport, coming in, helping them drop all of their luggage off and such here. There we go. As Aimi gives her daughter a hug, saying, "Oh, thank you for picking us up, sweetie." Samantha, a bit downtrodden, and not as in high spirits as her parents here, but saying, "Yeah, of course, it seems like you guys had a good trip." At least definitely smiling at the loving vibe between her parents. Oh, these Sims still hate each other. There we go. As Robert smiles at Aimi over Samantha's shoulder, saying, "Yeah, it was pretty great. Thank you again, sweetheart. I think it was just what we needed." Going over and giving Samantha a big hug as well, as she says, "Good, I'm glad." As Amy's phone, it was right there. As Amy's phone starts to ring, Aimi kind of pulling it out and rolling her eyes at the screen, saying, "Ugh, all right, if I don't at least tolerate my mother's annual 3-day late happy anniversary call, I will be berated over emails for a week straight. So, you got the bags, love." As Robert just says, "Go ahead, I've got it." Going over and giving Aimi a big kiss before she accepts the phone call and heads upstairs. Giving Aimi a big kiss really quick. Sam, a little bit embarrassed to, see her parents so affectionate in front of her, but definitely all right with it compared to the tension that has been between them for a long while anyways. Here, I'll have Aimi go ahead and head upstairs to their room to take her phone call here, as actually a knock comes at the door as well. As Aimi heads upstairs, Robert looking to Samantha, who also looks surprised, and going over to answer the door himself and seeing that it is Maxwell. Robert saying, "Oh, Maxwell, great to see you, son. Were you looking for Samantha? We just got back from the airport." Max kind of saying, "Oh, yeah, if you could." Robert yelling, "Oh, Sam, it's for you," as he heads back inside to tend to the bags. Samantha coming out and her face falling a little bit at seeing Max on their doorstep here. As she just says, "What are you doing here?" Making sure that the door is closed and they do have like a minute alone to talk here. Max replying, "This is when I was supposed to come over and grab my car keys." Samantha sort of widening her eyes, seeming a little bit embarrassed at that, going, "Oh, right." Handing back the car keys to Maxwell here, as she was borrowing his car to take her parents to the airport and such all weekend, of course. As he kind of stares at her for a little bit, going, "Is that my freshman year jersey?" As Samantha just sort of makes a confused noise and looks down at her outfit, going, "Oh, As Maxwell sort of chuckles, saying, "I forgot you and Quinn turned it into a crop top. It always looked better on you anyway." As Samantha just sort of replies, "Oh, yeah, I didn't think about it. I just grabbed the first thing I found this morning." Maxwell sort of stepping a little bit closer to her, saying, "Can we talk a little bit? Though I assume you're sober now." Kind of trying to keep the mood a little bit lighter as Samantha crosses her arms, going, "I don't know if I'm ready to talk yet." Maxwell just saying, "Okay, well, I'd really like to talk some more when you feel you can, Sam. Samantha taking another step back to just motioning towards the door, going, I don't know when I'll be ready to talk, but I definitely need more than a day, Max. As Maxwell just replies, yeah, of course. Are we still going to the wedding together? As Samantha just shakes her head, going, I don't have answers to anything right now, Max, okay? As Maxwell just sort of nods, getting the hint, and stepping back as well, saying, okay. Just sort of awkwardly leaving down the stairs as Samantha heads back inside, trying to still her emotions and not get too upset right now, but knowing that it is a little bit apparent all over her face that she is not in the best of mood. Robert, of course, kind of noticing as she comes in, less than enthused after having spoken with her boyfriend for a moment, asking, everything okay, sweetheart? Samantha replying, yeah, no, I don't know. Maxwell and I are in a bit of a fight, I guess. Not really having the energy to kind of lie and keep up a front with her dad right now, and knowing that it's genuine concern on his part. As Robert just says, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can help with? Samantha barking out a bit of a short laugh, going, I don't think so. As Robert kind of pats her on the shoulder, saying, well, if this trip has taught me anything, it's that a good, open, and honest conversation can do wonders. You guys have been through rifts before. I'm sure you can work out whatever is going on. Samantha just staring at the ground as her father talks, replying, yeah, I'm not sure on this one, but thank you, Dad. That does help to hear, and I'm glad you and Mom had a good time. Smiling once more at her father about that as Julia enters the fray carrying, hopefully still carrying Tyler here. Chadwick also sort of running into the room to... Hello? Oh, that was... not what you thought. It was just express passion for romance. Anyways, Chadwick kind of running in with Julia and Tyler here to say hello to his dad. You know, Rob kind of going over and sweeping his other kids up in a big hug here. Tell dad joke. Is that new? I didn't know that was a thing. Oh my god. Let's just get them to hug over here. And I'm gonna make Julia look a little bit more upset as well. Oh yeah, here, she's feeling gloomy anyways. Let me just get rid of her other moodlets here. And I'll have Robert take Tyler from her? Can you do it? Can you hand off toddler Sims? I actually don't know. Just kind of saying hello to his other kids, of course, as Julia kind of smiles at him, you know, greeting his other babies, saying, hey, did you have a good trip? Robert replying, yeah, it was really great. Yeah, are you all right, though? Noticing that, kind of like Sam, Julia is also looking a little bit down in the dumps. Julia looking at him going, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just tired. Robert sort of chuckling as he continues to hug his toddler, question mark? Going, you used to sleep like twice a week in college. I know what you look like, tired. And Julia replying, I just have a lot on my mind, I guess. I've been, thinking about things. Kind of, sparing a quick glance over at Samantha as Robert somewhat gets the hint and looks to Sam saying, sweetie, can you take your brothers? Samantha just complying, not necessarily having paid attention to the conversation anyways, a bit lost in her own thoughts as well, grabbing both, here, I'm just gonna have them head in here, grabbing, you know, both of her siblings and taking them up to Chadwick's room to kind of hang out and play a little bit as Robert has a conversation with his sister here. Please go away, Butler. Stepping closer to Julia now to talk a little bit more open as she continues to talk now that Samantha and the others are out of the room. And give me one moment, actually, to have someone pay the bills, because I would love for there to be lights on in this scene. Excuse me. There we go. Julia opening up a little bit more now that they're alone, saying, I've been thinking about what you said about how we should get to the bottom of everything with Madison. Robert, face palming a little bit, going, oh, shoot, yeah, sorry, I got so wrapped up with work and the surprise trip, I sort of dropped the ball on that. Julia going, no, you're fine, you have a lot going on. I wasn't expecting you to take that on by yourself as well. I just, well, Marissa came to pick her up from the Boys and Girls Club the other day, and I don't know, I guess there was just a weird hostility from her, and it struck me as odd, but I've been racking my brain, and I haven't really been able to figure out a reason why that would make sense. But Robert listening to her as more realization starts to dawn on Robert's face, almost cutting off Julia, saying, hold on. As he quickly takes off up the stairs, Julia confused but following after him as he heads over to him and Amy's room here, hearing Amy kind of finishing up her conversation with her mom on the phone, and here Robert bursting into the room with his sister as Amy is just hanging up and a bit startled, turning around to see the two of them enter here. Amy just sort of raising an eyebrow at her husband as he storms into the room. Robert saying, what did you mean by Marissa's also a kidnapper? Amy and Julia both at the same time kind of turning to Robert with eyebrows raised and saying, what? And then looking at each other a bit confused as Robert takes another step towards Amy, reiterating, when we were fighting, you said something about Marissa being a kidnapper. I was too wrapped up in our shit to think about it then, but I need to know now, what did you mean? As Amy kind of gives a nervous look over to Julia and then back at him saying, Robert, I told you that in confidence. It's not that I don't trust Julia, but Julia kind of taking another step forward too and sounding a bit more stern than usual as well as she continues, no, I think this is something I should hear too. Robert saying, she's right, there's maybe a bit more going on here, as Amy looks a bit confused at the two of them, but trusting her husband and willing to open up about everything that Hunter told her. And so with some notes to compare perhaps between the three of them here, we will lead them to that conversation full of plenty of information we already know, as we will leave the Winston Manor for the day, and we're going to actually put an end to that day as well and do our last short time skip here for the episode. So we now do a bit of it to the end of that week there. We are headed over across town to the local hotel where, of course, plenty of people in town we have seen show up for various different reasons and excursions. Most frequently by a certain duo lately. One person, that duo outside of the hotel right now, on the phone having a bit of a frustrated conversation as James speaks into the phone saying, no, but I will tonight. I don't have to explain anything to you. Just let me know when everyone else is gone and make yourself scarce as well. Okay, I have to go. Hanging up the phone abruptly as he notices Marissa coming over to him on the sidewalk, smirking at him as she says, oh, sounded tense. James just saying, work calls, you get it. Going over and giving him a kiss here. James kind of saying, well, so, Marissa replying, So, as she starts to kind of head into the hotel, but James holding her hands in this place here, saying, I actually had an idea. Marissa replying, oh, as James says, you said that tonight was Amanda's rehearsal dinner, yeah? Marissa kind of nodding along, going, mm-hmm. As James puts on his best flirty face, continuing, and that you're bailing because there's only so much small chat you can handle with the family. Oh, where are we going, Sims? No. We're gonna come back out here. Marissa, also putting on a matching flirty smirk, replying to him again with, mm-hmm, as James kind of gets a little bit closer into her ear, saying, oh, you want to do something really naughty then? As Marissa just kind of flirtily chuckles, saying, oh. James saying, I was thinking that, we could go to your place tonight instead of the hotel. Marissa just sort of continuing along with the flirty vibe, but saying, oh, I don't think that's such a good idea. James going, come on, I mean, what's the risk? You said everyone was going to be out of the house tonight, right? Marissa sort of following his train of thought there, going, well, yes. James continuing to really lay it on thick as he says, and we wouldn't have to worry about paying for food or staying quiet for the rooms next door. Knowing that Marissa is definitely starting to consider it a bit more as he talks, her just kind of saying, I suppose. Really going for the kill as he... can I have him... Oh, Jesus. Alright, Sims. As he gets really close to her ear and kind of starts to nibble down her neck, maybe. Jesus Christ, Sims. Can we kiss neck? There we go. That's what I was looking for. Starting to nibble down the side of her neck as he says, and you don't think it would be hot to screw in the bed you share with your husband? Marissa kind of nervously chuckling, definitely under the influence of his seduction here, kind of just saying, you're gonna get me in trouble, as James whispers in her ear yet again, oh, I wouldn't dare. Marissa... clearly kind of on the same page as James now, and kind of giggling along with him as she drags him off to her car instead of into the hotel here. But we will leave these horn dogs to themselves for now. We'll catch up with them in a little bit, but with that somewhat devious plan on the rise, we will leave them there. As it reaches late afternoon, early evening, we had a scene since the end of last season at the Ritter, but the location of another very important event, the Ritter family home, as it is the night of the rehearsal dinner for Amanda and Christopher's wedding. Everyone, all of their loved ones, everyone involved, everyone that Amanda wanted to be there. I mean, the wedding is going to be a dramatic, spectacular event, of course, but that doesn't mean that the rehearsal dinner can't also be an over-the-top event as well. Everyone who's anyone is also here at the rehearsal dinner. You're not going to see that many Sims in the house, but we're going to pretend it is packed full of people who would be at this rehearsal dinner. We've kept it low to keep the game running. But Rosalie is just showing up to the rehearsal dinner here with Amanda, greeting her at the door, wrapping her up in a hug, and inviting her inside. Amanda saying, I'm so glad that you could come. Rosalie is sort of awkwardly giggling a little bit at the hug that the pregnant woman has pulled her into, replying, yeah, thanks for inviting me, as Amanda just brushes her off, saying, oh, please, with all of the beautiful work you have done on this wedding, you more than deserve to be at this rehearsal dinner. The two of them trading just a couple more, pleasantries, small talk, as Rosalie apparently is going to do a little feel of Amanda's tummy before heading inside, making their way through the hall, past all of the tables, down to the main area where Amanda is sitting with the family, of course, but the seats are quite packed at this point. course, leaving Rosalie with the only chair kind of around this area with the people that she knows a bit more, being right across from Christopher, who seems a little bit startled to see Rosalie here, not really getting the memo that she would also be invited to this rehearsal dinner. Rosalie a little bit awkward to be sitting right across from Chris, but going along with it as Chris just gives her a, oh, hi, Rosie kind of awkwardly waving and saying hi. Back at him, with everyone just kind of getting back into the flow of conversation here. The rehearsal dinner going off pretty well as everyone's just kind of idly chatting and such, having a good time, telling stories, you know. Christopher sort of keeping one hand over on top of Amanda's on top of the table there, but definitely finding it hard to keep his eyes off of Rosalie directly across from him. You know what? Not block their view. Hard to keep his eyes off of Rosalie directly across from him, which has not gone unnoticed by Rosalie, who likes the attention from him more than she wants to admit to herself, but also feeling a bit nervous about it, having Amanda right there, although Amanda is, of course, you know, deep into entertaining everyone, not really seeming to notice anything amiss, but as Rosalie is kind of giving an anecdote of her own, telling a story, you know, about Daisy, you know, the baby at home and such, she definitely can't help but she can't really ignore Christopher's kind of moony gaze that he continues to keep tracked directly onto Rosalie the entire time, to the point where Rosalie feels like maybe she should put a stop to that, but not wanting to cause a scene in the middle of dinner here, says after she's done with her story, you know, excuses herself from the table, you know, just like, I feel, I'll excuse me, and heading to the bathroom down the hallway, but kind of giving Christopher, trying to catch his eye line as she heads off, like sort of kicking him under the table a little bit. Christopher noticing that she, you know, I mean, she definitely got his attention, but not necessarily catching the hint as Rosalie heads off down the hall towards the bathrooms here. Here, we'll just have her move over here. But Charlie, a bit more astute than her brother, noticing the interaction here and also having kind of seen the vibe between Chris and Rosalie the whole dinner, kind of rolling her eyes, and Charlie saying, Chris, can you come here a sec? I need to talk to you about bachelor party plans. Amanda cutting in with, hey, you're supposed to be working on my bachelorette party, not his, as Charlie kind of brushes her off, standing up and going around the table behind her brother saying, don't worry, girl, Jaocb's got his covered. This is just a special sibling thing. As Chris, still completely oblivious, kind of says, what are you talking about? Charlie going, Chris, now, thanks. All but dragging him out of his dining chair here off into the hallway, heading in the direction that she saw Rosalie head in here. Let me get them into the hallway. Christopher just kind of following her, knowing not to question his sister when she has her mind set to something, but definitely confused as he whispers after her, continuing to drag him down the hallway, going, what? Charlie, noticing that Rosalie is around this corner by the bathroom like she suspected, saying, go, you fucking idiot, go talk to her. Chris says, still just a bit flabbergasted, going, what are you, it's Charlie physically just kind of pushes him into the hallway here, so the house is a little awkward to do angles around for the camera. I'll get a good one once he's over here. Pushed by his sister almost directly into Rosalie, stumbling over into this kind of nook in the hallway here as Charlie just shakes her head and heads back to the dinner table here. Rosalie turning to see that it is Christopher who has found her over here, saying, oh, thank God you got the hint. We need to talk. As Christopher just sort of goes along with this as well, saying, what? Rosalie going, you've been staring at me all moony-eyed for the past week, and you've given me more attention than your fiancé all dinner long, okay? Trying to keep her voice low as there's still plenty of people mingling about at this dinner, and, you know, wait staff and such waiting around, as Christopher also keeps his voice low, saying, Oh, sorry, I honestly didn't notice. My head's been all over the place this week. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. As Rosalie just sighs and pinches the bridge of her nose, saying, You're not. God, your looks don't make me uncomfortable. They. Cutting herself off as she stares at him, kind of giving him a soft look that he mirrors back at her. Rosalie desperately wanting to tell him that she could never really be uncomfortable with those looks. They're the ones that she dreams about him casting her way for the rest of time. But knowing she can't say that, and that's definitely not why she pulled him aside for a conversation here, as she continues on saying, It's not about me. It isn't right. Okay, listen, I know Amanda is far from easy to deal with, especially now that she's a bride. As one of her staff members, I know she is shrewd and frustrating and often meaner than necessary. And listen, I am sorry that she is less than pleasant, but she's your fiancé, not me. And she clearly wants nothing more than to be your wife. And the only time that I've seen her soften is when she's talking about that baby growing inside her, okay? No matter how cruel she can be, she doesn't deserve to have you gaslighting her about your love, okay? If you want to keep staring at me like that, you can't take her hand. But since you have to treat me like just your floral designer, okay? That's it. We've been over this, Chris. For better or worse, you made your choice, so act like it. Before Christopher can really gather his thoughts, or before Rosalie knows that her weak resolve might break, just going ahead and leaving the conversation there herself and heading back to the dinner table as Christopher looks a bit more solemn himself, knowing deep down that Rosalie is definitely right, even if he's not been willing to admit it to himself as well. But definitely feeling bad that she had to pull him aside to chew him out about that, as they both kind of awkwardly head back to the rehearsal dinner, a bit more tension present on that end of the table there. But we will leave them to figure that all out as they continue their rehearsal dinner there and head back to, because Amanda's in the bathroom, we will head back to catch up with a couple of other people who maybe had some different plans on this very same night. Still early evening, kind of a parallel to the time that we were just seeing at the rehearsal dinner there, but over at the Clark estate, of course, we heard that a couple of our other characters had some other somewhat devious plans to go on at the Clark estate here, as Marissa does kind of quietly lead James into the house, giggling a little bit nervous and apprehensive, even though she knows that, everyone else is out of the house at the rehearsal dinner for the night, as James is kind of, giggling, like holding onto her waist as they run in together. James asking, "Where's your room?" As Marissa says, "Upstairs and to the left." James kind of smacking her ass as she heads up towards the stairs, saying, "All right, sexy, why don't you head up there, and I'm gonna grab us some wine and chocolate, and I'll meet you up there in a minute." Marissa turning around for a moment to say, "Do you know where the kitchen is?" As James just says, "I can find it." Marissa flirtily and somewhat obliviously chuckling along as she makes her way up the staircase towards her bedroom. James sort of smirking up at her and heading sort of in the direction that he believes the kitchen might be, waiting until she is definitely all the way out of eyesight before turning back around to go snoop through the study a little bit, kind of just explore the house, definitely on a mission looking for pretty much anything that he can find that might point towards some of his theories about maybe Justin and Robert a little bit, but honestly more locked into anything that Marissa might be up to at this point. Just sort of snooping around the office for a bit, not really finding what he wants, but not wanting to spend too much time. Heading in this direction to actually try and find the kitchen, as he does hear a bit of conversation happening out on the back porch, though, making sure to stick close to the wall, sort of snooping around until he is kind of leaning against the wall here by the back porch, glancing out the window to see that there are two figures out there still. Rona and Catalina out there conversing as James shakes his head and noticing other people out on the back porch, muttering under his breath, "Idiot." As he does lean close to the window, trying to hear the conversation as closely as possible, with Rona saying to Catalina, who's taking a long drag off of her cigarette, "You actually got rid of everything this time?" Catalina just kind of rolling her eyes, saying, "Yes, it took some bribing to get into the house, but we should be in the all clear now." As Rona says, "And you're sure?" As Catalina just goes, "Yes, Miss Paranoid." As Rona turns to her, saying, "I'm not the one who left evidence in her own family home and then called me frantic about it after noticing a detective staking out her house, so don't call me paranoid. Give me that." Grabbing Catalina's cigarette out of her hand and taking a long drag off of it herself, as Catalina rolls her eyes once more, going, "You need to relax. I haven't seen the detective in a while anyway, so it might have just been a coincidence." Rona rolling her eyes at Catalina this time and taking another drag off the cigarette, saying, "You know better than me to not assume things are a coincidence." As James notices Rona stomping out the cigarette, turning to hide around the other, like the corner of the breakfast bar here, as both of the other ladies head inside and further into the house, kind of ducking around to go to the living room direction. James deciding to scrap any plans to grab wine or chocolate, whether they were genuine to begin with or not, and ducking into the hallway and up the staircase to hopefully avoid being noticed by the older women heading into the house here, and scampering up the stairs to the bedroom where I'll have Marissa just... Now she's going to go to the pillow, so that's okay. We'll have her go relax on the bed. James quickly and as quietly as possible making his way upstairs here as... he enters the room, Marissa sort of raising an eyebrow at him, going, "Oh, where's that wine and chocolate you promised?" As James just coolly chuckles and brushes it off, saying, "So maybe your kitchen's a bit harder to find than I expected," as Marissa just laughs out loud at him, standing up to go over, saying, "That's fine. I mean, all the dessert I need is right here. We'll let them fall into their debauchery for the night, I suppose, here. As we're gonna pretend it's still a little bit later out in the afternoon, early evening times. Well, simultaneously, we have all that happening, rehearsal dinner and shenanigans at the Clark estate. On that side, over at the Winston Manor here, on the same night, Robert is in the office gathering some files together and such, as his mom kind of knocks on the door and comes inside with a file folder herself, saying, "Hey, sweetie, you're meeting with the financial advisor tonight, right?" Robert's saying, "Yes." He seems to kind of be compiling a few things still himself to presumably bring to the meeting with the financial advisor here, as Juliet says, "Here are some new projections that I ran after your weekend away that you can give her. I think that they'll give her some more confidence, hopefully." Robert kind of opening the file and looking through whatever his mother gave him as well, his eyes widening as he says, Oh my God, are these numbers real?" Juliet just casually replying, I was hoping to get them even higher, but this is sufficient for now." As Robert says, "Sufficient? This is incredible. How did you..." Juliet, still very nonchalantly continuing, "Well, I had some free time over the weekend while you were away, and since you left the company to me while you were on your trip, I decided to go out on a limb and just try to get some of your old clients back, and the ones that you lost in the data breach last year. Some sweet talking and some baking of sweets, and I got you 67% of your client base back. I have plans to work on the tougher nuts that didn't agree yet. Oh, I had an idea about a mixer to maybe bring in some fresh blood." Robert just absolutely aghast, staring at her like, "You did all this in one weekend?" Juliet saying, "Oh, sorry, dear, I didn't ask first. I didn't want to bother you on vacation, though." As Robert just says, "No, you don't need permission. Jesus, you were welcome to do anything you want if this is the result." Juliet just kind of brushing him off, saying, "Oh, please, it was just a couple of conversations here and there. I'm sure you would have come to the same solutions eventually." As Robert stops her, saying, "No, Mom, don't sell yourself short. This is phenomenal. You're a miracle worker." As Juliet kind of denies the compliment again, saying to stop it. As Robert goes, "No, I'm serious. Why was Dad the entrepreneur and not you?" Juliet kind of wistfully replying, "Well, women didn't really do that back in my day, sweetheart." As he just kind of raises an eyebrow at her, going, "Mom, it was the 70s." As Juliet says, "Well, women in families like ours, at least. Robert had grand plans, and maybe I had some pipe dreams of my own success, but I knew I was expected to be the wife and the mother, and I was happy to do that as well. I wouldn't trade anything for the beautiful family that I've built." Robert just giving her a long, hard stare, saying, "Well, would you have wanted to build something of your own if you could have, though?" Juliet kind of staring off again, going, "Maybe. I often thought I'd be good at it, at least, but there's no need to dwell on the past, sweetheart. I'm more than happy with how things have turned out. I'll leave you to get ready for your meeting." As Robert just kind of gives another long, hard stare at the numbers as he watches his mother walk out of the room, making sure that he's definitely familiar with all the files before meeting with the advisor. But before heading to their meeting, outside, though, it is darker and rainier than I was hoping it would be. Because we're going to go ahead and head out, as it is, it is late evening, or early evening still, with the sun just starting to kind of set, and Julia over here at the bench near what I guess used to be Annabelle's grave, still, a lot less tended to than it used to be, but not really having been touched at all, honestly, in the last year or so. Let's just make her a little bit less cheery over here. Julia just kind of sitting over here as her brother Brent walks up and takes a seat next to her. Julia kind of raising an eyebrow at him, saying, "Oh, hey," as Brent goes, "Hey, haven't seen you out here in a while." Julia kind of snapping back at him, "Yeah, and I haven't heard from you in almost a week. Where have you been?" As Brent looks a little bit sheepish, just saying, "Oh, sorry, life has just gotten busy. I haven't been checking my phone much. I'm sorry, did you need something this week?" Julia just sort of barking out a sharp laugh and chewing on her lip as Brent goes, "Julia, are you okay? What's up?" Julia saying, "Oh, boy, I don't know. Every time I think I'm getting closer to accepting my lot, something else throws a wrench in those plans." Just sort of staring off into the distance, definitely in her own thoughts, as Brent is there trying to follow the conversation as best he can, replying, "Oh," Julia merely continuing, "I mean, I'm elated to have found my child, and it might have changed things for the better, but, I mean, boy, did it still turn things upside down." Brent saying, "Yeah, of course." Julia continuing, "And now I was just getting on track and feeling happy again, but something new has come in to flip my head upside down once again." Brent, trying to get a bit more context here, saying, "Julia, what happened?" Julia still pretty on a roll with her rambling, though, with, "Oh, God, and to think I wanted to thank that woman for keeping my baby alive all these years." Brent saying, "Who? Wait, Marissa? What's going on?" As Julia finally turns to Brent for a minute, saying, "Oh, boy, you missed quite the story that has come to light this week, and I guess I should feel relieved to know the truth finally. Maybe deep down that's there, but yeah, I don't really feel relieved." Brent asking, "What's the truth?" But yet again, Julia kind of wrapped up in finally letting out some, finally venting about things for the first time in a while, saying, "No, I feel angry. I think I felt angry for a while, for years, and I didn't know where to direct it because I was sad and distraught, but I was angry at the world because why did it have to be my child that passed away in her sleep? But Terrence was always right there at my side, coaching me on how I should feel and quelling that anger, and he was always so smart and had all the answers, and I didn't have a reason to think he didn't have my best interest at mind, so I listened, and I pushed that anger down, and I just felt my grief for Annabelle. And then I found out her grave was empty, and I felt that anger return, just seeing his stoic face just standing there, and I don't think I ever stopped being angry that whole time. I just locked it away for his sake, but it all came back when he admitted that the death was a ruse, but like a coward, he ran away before I could direct my anger where it belonged. And then Madison found me, and I locked that anger away again because I was so happy to have found my baby, that she's still alive, that there wasn't a need to be angry anymore, but I don't think it left. I think I just pushed it down again. Letting out a bit of a broken laugh after just kind of spewing all that at Brent, who still not a completely following, but saying, I mean, you always did have a fire in you that I haven't seen in almost a decade, so it's kind of nice to see it back. So, why is it back? Julia just kind of rubbing her hands on her thighs, saying, because Marissa wasn't innocently taking in a nameless baby like I thought. I think I have a place to direct that anger again. Brent saying, oh, as Julia sharply stands up, saying, let's head inside and I'll tell you everything that Robert and Amy told me last week. Brent, confused but absolutely intrigued as he kind of follows Julia inside to the kitchen here, where Robert and Amy are in the middle of their conversation and meeting with the financial advisor. Now, Julia and Brent kind of heading in through the side door here towards the kitchen. As Robert kind of notices and calls over to her like, Jules, we were just in the middle of a meeting, but Julia just going, oh no, it's all good, we were just grabbing something to drink and we'll be out of your hair, sorry. Amy kind of saying, oh, no worries, at them over there, just, kind of grabbing some water before Julia launches into quite a tale to tell Brent, of course, standing just out of earshot as Robert and Amy just decide to continue their meeting, though the financial advisor here looking at their files and kind of starting to pack stuff up, saying, I think that we're about done anyway. Your current projections are fantastic, and I have no concerns about the future if things continue in this direction. Robert saying, well, there was one more big thing that I wanted to discuss tonight. Him and Amy sort of sharing a look with each other as Amy gives him a small smile and squeezes Robert's hand on the table before Robert turns to the financial advisor with a big breath, saying, I know I was reluctant to do so before, but I've realized that the most important thing in my life is the people in it, and where those people are don't really matter as long as I have them by my side, so I'm willing to put the house on the market to settle the debt and give us a clean slate. Amy squeezing her husband's hand yet again as he talks, giving the financial advisor a smile as she just looks back a bit confused at Robert, saying, what do you mean? Robert going, well, you said that if we sold the house, we would have enough to cover the debt and get us back to zero. The financial advisor nodding along as she kind of starts to pull out some files again, going, well, correct, but that's not necessary anymore. Your debt has been settled. Robert and Amy kind of sharing a confused look between each other this time. Startled as Amy turns back to the advisor saying, what are you talking about? As the advisor replies, oh, I assumed you knew. Sorry, excuse me, there's a million things happening. Okay. The advisor kind of rifling through some papers now saying, oh, I assumed you knew. he said he talked about it with you prior to signing the check, as Robert slowly stares at what paper she's rifling through and saying, "What are you talking about?" As the financial advisor finally finds what she's looking for and going, "Yeah, last week a man came in and paid off your debt as an anniversary gift, a Mr. Terrence Abrams." As the sound of a glass shattering as it falls out of Julia's hand is heard from the kitchen, and with a absolutely shell-shocked and bewildered look shared between all the family here in the kitchen, we will leave them there at the Winston Manor. It is a little bit earlier in the game than I would like it to be. I was hoping it was a bit dark. It would be a bit darker during the scene. I'm actually just going to leave it on fast forward while I talk here, just to get it as late in the day as possible in game, but for purposes of our actual story, it is a bit later at night now, definitely further into the evening after sunrise, definitely officially into night now, as the rehearsal dinner has finished a little bit ago. Everyone has kind of gone home and started to relax, but one person had a lot to think about from that dinner and couldn't quite relax, and has decided to head over to Rosalie's house here for just a moment, even though that Christopher does know that it is late, but just kind of stealing his nerves and walking up to the door to knock on it. Let's go fast forward here. Knock on it as Rosalie comes to the door to answer, a little bit startled to see him and starting to close the door as she sees that it's Chris, but him kind of putting his hand out going, "Oh, wait," as she goes, "Chris, what did I literally just talk to you about?" As Christopher says, No, I know, that's why I'm here. You're right. I have been an idiot and an asshole, and it isn't fair to you or Amanda to try and give a piece of me to each of you. I didn't mean to do that, but I was. You're right. I chose her. I'm marrying her. She's the one I need to picture standing before me at that altar next week. I mean, I know I made this choice for my family and our reputation and Amanda's baby. And even if I feel my heart reaching out for yours every time you enter the room, I need to be diligent about shutting that down. Rosalie, kind of feeling every word like a punch to the gut, just saying, "Chris," as he goes, "No, fuck, sorry, God, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry, my head's scrambled. I promise I didn't come here to babble at you about..." "I apologize for my behavior, and I promise I will do a better job at maintaining boundaries and living with my choice. Like you said, I will keep things professional from now on." Sims. Professional from now on. Let me get rid of all these flirty moodlets so they don't keep doing this. Excuse me. Ignore the crying baby in the background. They might still flirt in the game here, but we're gonna pretend they're not. Yeah, as Chris finishes, yeah, I will keep things professional from now on. I just wanted to tell you that and give you this, as he reaches into his pocket and hands an envelope to Rosalie here, who, let me at least make her upset, so hopefully she doesn't flirt as much, as she kind of squints at him before taking the envelope and looking inside to see a check written out to her for quite a large lump sum of money, as she goes, "Chris, you don't have to pay me, and no, definitely not that much, Jesus." Chris saying, I know I don't have to, I just wanted to, and I know you're fine on your own, and you already planned to raise Daisy alone from the start anyway. But I know you wouldn't have taken this job if you or struggling at the moment, and consider it making up for the year that I should have been here raising her with you, and an apology for how I've handled everything with you, and I guess most importantly, just a gift from a friend. It doesn't make up for everything, but I just want to help. As Rosalie goes, I mean, yeah, this will help a lot, actually. I don't really know what to say. Christopher, you don't have to say anything, just take care, Rosalie. As he steps down the stoop, turns around before he can go back on anything he said. Rosalie calling out to him again, though, saying, thank you. Not just for this, kind of shaking the envelope at him, replying, but I'll see you at the wedding, Mr. Clark. Smiling softly but a bit somberly at him as Chris also sort of chuckles and gives a smile back to her, saying, I'll see you at the wedding, Miss Winston. Headed off on his way as Rosalie gives him one last smile before almost falling on his face, I suppose, as he heads to leave. Rosalie turning around to head back inside, though, and knowing that Christopher is already on his way off her property, just slumping down against the door and falling into sobs against the door as she holds the check to her, feeling like she should feel a bit more relieved that Christopher seems to have said his goodbyes, but not able to stop the feeling of heartbreak that seems to be overtaking her instead. But we'll leave Rosalie there. Oh God, we will ignore Tina peeping and we will leave Rosalie there to her emotions for the night. For our end, we are headed back to the Clark estate. Definitely later at night now. Of course, as things are kind of wrapping up. People are getting home from rehearsals, dinner, and such. But a couple people maybe have lost a little bit of track of time here, as a certain someone has gotten home yet. Oh, the volume is on. Okay. Yet, maybe a couple people haven't quite fled the house yet. Sean walking into the bedroom here to find his wife, Marissa, in bed with James here. And, I know you're upset, but you're going to come back in this room, Sean, as Marissa opens her eyes and notices, kind of startled, calling out after him, like, oh, Sean! But the first word out of Sean's mouth is not yelling back at Marissa. Instead, Sean's attention turns to the other person in the room over here and exclaims, James? And that is where we will leave the episode for tonight. And so, the Sims are being a little bit wily there. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. Sean getting a little bit in the way of my end stinger there. But that's where we're going to leave our second to last episode. So we got plenty to get into and talk about in the next episode. Our finale next week, but that's where episode 7, Reparations, is going to leave off there. But don't worry, we got plenty to show you guys for our finale, episode 8, Sunrise, which will be next Friday, July 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern time, of course. If you want to know what we got coming up on the channel after Traitorous is done, what will be taking up that Friday slot, a brand new super fun show that I cannot wait to get into with you guys. Make sure you stick around after the finale is over for our quick little trailer premiere after the finale of Traitorous next Friday. It should be fun. I'm very excited to announce things to you guys, and we have a lot of fun stuff coming up in August, so make sure you're in my Discord to hear about all of that as well once the month is over. Otherwise, thank you for being here. I love you all very, very much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night and a beautiful rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you all later.